Welcome to your weekday cup of the Word. Today we start the book of Luke, where you have been breaking the Gospels up as we've been going through the New Testament, and so now we're going to go and look at the Gospel of Luke. Now, Luke is the most comprehensive of the Gospels, meaning it really looks at it historically more than the other of the Gospels in a chronological order. Look at this event and this event and this event, all in a precise timeline. Now, Luke will say that was his goal, his desire. Luke wrote two books. He wrote Luke and Acts, and they do dovetail together very, very nicely. In fact, if you read Luke and then just pick up right up in Acts, it reads like one book. And the goal of those was to historically put down the events of Christ's life and then the church after him in the book of Acts in a fashion so that somebody, a Gentile who knew nothing about Judaism, could pick it up and understand who Jesus was. As you go through the book of Luke, you're going to see a particular emphasis upon the compassion of Christ and his miracles. You'll see a lot more focus on the miracles than, say, Matthew, who focuses more on the words of Christ. Having said that, though, Luke also includes some things that no other book does, some particularly famous things that Jesus talked about, like the story of the prodigal son and the Good Samaritan. Those can only be found in the book of Luke. And so here, as we start Luke chapter 1, we go all the way back to the very beginning of the story of Christ's life. We go back before Jesus was born, before Jesus was even in Mary's womb. We're going to start with John the Baptist's birth story. And we start with Zacharias and Elizabeth, who were of the Levitical tribe. Zacharias was of the priestly lineage, and so he was somebody who had the opportunity every once in a while to go to the temple and to be involved in the temple tasks, the priestly tasks. While he was there doing that, he's visited by Gabriel, and Gabriel gives him the message that he is to have a son. Zacharias was an older man. He didn't believe it, and Gabriel says, well, if you don't believe me, you're going to be mute. You're not going to be able to say a word until this boy is born, and so it was. Then the next thing we see is Gabriel moving on to go and talk to Mary. And he tells Mary that she will have a child. And she says, well, how is that going to be? I'm betrothed, I'm engaged, but I'm not married yet. And he says, it's possible because of God. You'll be with child through the Holy Spirit. And he tells her, your kinsman, your relative, Elizabeth, is already with child, and she's going to have a child. And so Mary goes to visit her, and John the Baptist, who's still in the womb at this point, very much alive, but very much still in the womb, leaps with joy and is filled with the Holy Spirit, and Elizabeth prophesies about the child that is now in Mary and how he will be her Lord. And then Mary gives this large psalm of thanksgiving and magnifies God. And we move on to seeing in the same chapter, we get to see John being born and Zacharias telling everybody he's going to be named John. And everybody says, no, why would you name him John? But it's because God said so. And then Zacharias will finish this chapter with a prophecy. And he will say that the Messiah is coming. And my son, John the Baptist, this baby who will later grow up to be a full-grown man who will do a lot of wonderful preaching, he will be the one who prepares the way for the Messiah. John the Baptist, who was 6 months older than Jesus, would go out preaching and prepare the way for Jesus' ministry after him. That's Luke chapter 1, all the way back to the beginning of John the Baptist and Jesus, how they came to be. That's your Daily Cup, and we'll see you tomorrow.